And we're on. So thank you, guys. Today is part 3 of I'm Getting Up. Part 3. And I am so happy to talk about this today because I really feel like there's something in this for everybody. There's 3 big points I want us to take home that we remember today. And these major points are: burdens are too heavy. Burdens are too heavy. Point number 2 is, I don't want extra baggage. Nobody wants to grab extra baggage. We all know what it's like to get through the airport when you're like, why did we pack all this stuff? It's a lot. And point number 3 is watch me go. Sit tight. Watch me go. Seems like just when everything is going good, that's when the challenges come. That's when it gets hard. Burdens are not for us to decide. One of our biggest problems we have in life is this control. We control so many things. We have the choice about so many things. We like to have that control. We like to have that harness. We like to decide what challenges we want. And as everybody in this room could testify, burdens aren't ours to decide. We don't get to choose what challenge we have. We don't get to choose what we want to come our way. Because what comes, comes. The Spirit of the Lord is our guide. The Spirit of God guides us in everything. And it's how we respond to our situations is how it's going to go. And how it's going to work for our heart. Literally, our choice and our response really dictates how the burden affects us. And sometimes that's easier said than done. So we're going to go to Matthew 11:28 through 29. Because this is really important. Jesus said, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls." So point 1 is burdens are too heavy. Jesus knew it. God knows it. This is not a secret. This isn't new. The whole purpose that burdens are too heavy is so you quit carrying them. And yet we find ourselves wrapping around it and holding on. Sometimes when we have the biggest challenges in life, you ever try something new? You see people that are afraid of heights, and they're trying to go up stairs to go down like a water slide or something. And it is just, it's a feeling I'll never forget. I was talking to a friend, and he says, I'm great on a ladder. I can walk on a ladder. But when I get from the top of the ladder to get onto my stack of hay, to tarp it, he said, that's a feeling I wish on nobody. He said, it absolutely terrifies me. I'm crawling on my hands and knees, just knowing any second I'm going to fall. And we have that feeling. And so we hold on to that burden. Because whatever situation we have, we feel like if we have some level of control, it's better than not knowing what's around the corner. And so we cling to what we have. You know, we could be caught in the middle of a fire. Imagine that. You're out in the wilderness and you're out in a wildland fire. Which way are you going? Which path do you go? And you're standing here and you see that you're going to have to step through flames. But on the other side of those flames, the fire's gone. It's completely circled you around, but you're afraid to walk through those flames to be freed because that's uncomfortable. And that fear holds you back to the extent that you stand in that ring until you burn to death. We have those things happen to us all the time. But Jesus is aware of your burden. He wants to help you catch a break. He's saying, hey, listen, I know you work. It says it right there. All ye that labor. And you have burdens. I get it. You work hard and you're tired. I totally get that you're tired. But take my yoke. Get the yoke. I don't use yoke at my house because we have a pickup. Thank God. But you take a yoke and it puts on 2 animals. Jesus is saying, take my yoke upon you. He's right beside you. He says, and learn from me. See, when you want to train horses, at least this is what we did. My grandpa always said, you snub it up to the good one. So you take the horse and you snub it up to the other horse, and the horse that needs to be trained. Because a horse that knows what it's doing, that's been trained, isn't going to put up with the caving around. And they teach the other animal that starts caving around. And it really works. We adopted some wild Mustangs from Wyoming, and let me tell you, you can't quite get the wild all the way out of them. I don't care what the horse whisperer says, it doesn't happen. But we were able to ride them, and we were able to ride them, not necessarily enjoy them, because if a fly flew by, they would start the bucking all over again. It was a mess. But the point is, you get on this horse, you snub him to the other one, and he's going to teach what to do. The same thing happens with oxen. Use a trained ox to train a new ox. It's much easier. And Jesus is saying, hey, take my yoke. I'll carry this with you. I'm going to pull the wagon with you. I'm the expert. I know what I'm doing. I can handle this load by myself. But if you walk with me, you'll learn from me. For I am meek and lowly in heart, and you'll find rest. We were just talking this morning about how the geese migrate. And it's so awesome because they go in a V so they can cut down on the wind. And it's like 40 or 50% of their energy is saved by flying in a V. And the guy up front gets tired, and you see him drop back and they rotate right out. They have a system. And then the next guy takes the lead and they keep going. They have to work as a team. Jesus is telling us your life is not by yourself. We work as a team because burdens are too heavy. You can't do it on your own. We're going to go to Numbers chapter 11. We're going to go through some verses. I'm going to skip a couple of verses also. But it's because it's a majority of the chapter. And I want to go through some of the different things. So, Numbers chapter 11, we'll start in verse 4. And I'm going to be skipping through here, so try to keep up with me if you can. I apologize. Numbers chapter 11 says, the riffraff among people had a craving. Oh, I forgot to give you the background on this. I apologize. The backstory. The Israelites were in the desert. They'd been getting free manna for some time. But they decided that was no longer sufficient to meet their needs because they were tired of the taste of manna. They decided they wanted meat. Now, how they got meat, it doesn't say. But I have a sneaky suspicion some kid was out there with a bow and arrow, caught a quail, brought it home and said, Mom, try this. And they went, whoa. And then the people in the camp next door was like, hey, we want to try that. This kid goes, now they all want it, but there's nowhere near enough food for like 600,000 people. And so you know what they do? The logical approach, the same thing we do. Moses, this is insufficient. These standards are no longer going to work for us. We need something better. We want quail. So that's the background of what's going on. They're saying, well, hey, we ate fish in Egypt, and we got it for free. To say nothing of the cucumbers and melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. But nothing tastes good out here. All we get is manna. Manna. At my house, I want ramen. My beautiful wife is like, honey, there are other foods that we have in our house beside ramen. I love those things. They're like 20 cents. I can live on a 5-year-old box. I love that stuff. And so I don't quite understand the manna thing. If it was like taste as good as ramen noodles, man, I'm good to go. If you want me to be a vegetarian, put me on ramen noodles then. I might make it. I don't know. I need meat after a few days. But anyway, Moses heard the whining. He heard it. And everybody's complaining. And God got mad. You ever given your kids something and they were absolutely ungrateful? And you're like, you have got to be kidding me. Do you even realize the sacrifice that it took to give you this? Do you have any idea? Parents in the audience with little babies right now, the sacrifice of sleep. When we're not feeling good, well, Bree and I had the twins, we're horrible parents. We just want them to sleep so we can lay down. We were so tired. I understand that frustration of going, and the kid, they don't care, it's not one bit. They're like, and now I want something to eat. And oh, by the way, I think my diaper's messed up. Would you clear that up for me too? And you're like, do you not see I'm tired? And God's given these guys food. It wasn't like they were starving. They had their needs met. And they said, oh, no, we want more. We want more. Can you think of those circumstances around you? And so they come to Moses. God's frustrated. And Moses is going, oh, man. Oh, this is not good. Because they're not happy. And we all know when there's not order in the house, it gets rough. But try being in charge of about 700,000, 600,000 people. That's just the men. So Lord knows how many women and children are with that. That's a lot of people that are upset. That's a big deal. You have that many people take to the streets over quail. He's like, Lord, what am I going to do? And he says, God, why are you treating me this way? Now, I know none of you have ever done this, but it's happened to me where I'm like, God, why did you pick me for this one? Like, really? Because I think you must have pulled the wrong name out of the box. I don't want to do this one. This one's hard. Why am I going through this? What is this happening? Why did you dump this responsibility on me? We all understand that frustration. I'm not their mom. I'm not their dad. I'm not their grandmother, grandpa, whatever. Why am I the guy that has to take care of them? Why do I have... You ever felt that? You're like, wait a second, time out. Why am I taking on somebody else's burden? So that's perfect because that's what we do. We take on other people's burden. And Moses is immediately going, well, I have to figure out how I'm going to get quail. Right? Kind of like when we're trying to figure out our mortgage. Or when we're trying to figure out something else. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to work overtime. I will do this. I will take care of that. I'm going to make it happen, right? And Moses is going, this isn't practical. Where are we going to find I can't find the quail. Like, this isn't going to happen. I'm not going to succeed at this. I can only imagine the level of stress. It'd be like you today coming to me and saying, Phil, we need this church to give $2 million to some ministry. I'd be like, I don't know how it's going to happen. But I don't not have faith. I believe in God, but there is absolutely no way I could just pull that out of our hat. The Lord can't, I would need a miracle. I would need a miracle. But when it's closer to not that extreme, we find ourselves pressing in harder to try to make it happen. To try and do of ourselves. So anyway, he says, where am I supposed to get all this meat? Skip down. God says to Moses, gather together 70 men from among the leaders of Israel, men who I know to be respected and responsible, and take them and have a meeting. So he's like, get your key people, your key influencers, and bring them in. God says, I'll meet you there. I'll come down and speak with you. I'll take some of the spirit that is on you and place it on them. Then they'll be able to take some of this load to the people, and you won't have to carry this alone. See, that our burdens, we shouldn't be carrying other people's burden. God doesn't want us to. Before Jesus, God was standing there saying, Moses, I'll help you. I'll take this burden and I'll carry it. And I'm going to help these key people work this through. He says, tell the people to consecrate themselves, and they go through the whole process of what they need to do for consecration. And Moses says, hey, I'm surrounded by 600,000 men on foot, and you say I'll give them meat every day for a month. So where's it coming from? We've all You ever felt something in your heart? We should do this. And it's like God's telling you, we should do this. And you start to, we should do this. And go, what the heck am I doing? This is not going to, we shouldn't do this. And we start getting into this place of debating or wanting to go. I see Moses going, I don't see this. Where are you going to get all this meat? This is practical. And you can't judge Moses for this because we live in a practical world. We understand that there are logistical things that have to happen. He was logistically running a nation. Logistically. And we'll need this, and we need this. And all of a sudden now, I have to come up with quail. And where are we going to find them here? You're saying you'll do this, God? Great. But where are they coming from? Any of you ever felt like you were in that position where you have this burden on you? And God's like, oh, trust me. It'll be okay. And you're like, but how? How is that going to happen? How are we going to do this? You know? It's difficult. So, it goes on to say, I'll give them meat for every day. So where's it coming from? Sorry, I'll move on down. So God answered Moses, you think I can't take care of you? You'll see soon enough whether what I say happens for you or not. So Moses went out and told the people, oh yeah, you want quail? I'll give you, sound like some politicians. You want no taxes? We can do that, no problem. Of course, we don't know how we're going to get this passed through the legislature, but yeah, we'll get it. Can you imagine that feeling that Moses has at that point? Well, okay, God told me, God's led me, so I trust that. You're gonna have meat. It's coming. So he goes out and tells them, hey, it's coming. And God came down, and when the Spirit rested on these people, they prophesied. But they didn't continue. It was a one-time event. So these people were also talking about it. And meanwhile, God gave them all they needed. And they got the meat. They got plenty of meat until they were vomiting meat. He's got to make sure they're a little frustrated. He's like, you want that? Go ahead. You want a little bit more? Go ahead. You want a little bit more? You ever had a kid that you're like, hey, stay out of the sweets or the berries or something that's a little much for the tummy? When you're not looking, they go ahead and then when they're ralphing it up later, you're like, well, I did tell you. I love you, but, we told you. So God totally says that. But then what is beautiful about this and why I want us to see this also is that these other people stay in the camp. They were listed as leaders and they didn't leave the camp. And the Spirit rested on them and prophesied. And a man ran to Moses. And he said, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. Joshua, son of Nun, who had been Moses' right-hand man since his youth, said, Moses, Master, stop him. So they just fed all these people. And the next connection is that God now put the Spirit on some people that immediately prophesied and then prophesied no more. Because there was no way Moses, he didn't have an iPhone. He didn't have Facebook. So he couldn't get that message out to 600,000 people, how things were going to operate. But he had two key people that then had the gift of prophecy. Were able to start talking to all of the people. And people freaked out. Because God recognized, you know what, Moses? You can't do this alone. You're right, that burden's too heavy. And he lifted it. Do you guys not see the prayer in there? The power of prayer? You get it. And you get that opportunity to have that moment of prayer. And it's in there. And God met his need. Because these burdens aren't for you to carry. Point number 2. Extra baggage is a curse. I don't want extra baggage. Who wants the pressure of carrying everybody else's baggage in the first place? First of all, the burden's too heavy. And extra baggage is a curse. All it does is weigh you down. It doesn't help us. It doesn't help us at all. Proverbs 26, verses 16 through 28. I want to read it because I think just hearing this speaks more than what I can say. Dreamers fantasize their self-importance. They think they are smarter than the whole college faculty. You grab a mad dog by the ears when you butt into a quarrel that's none of your business. People who shrug off deliberate deception saying, I didn't mean it, I was only joking, are worse than careless campers who walk away from smoldering campfires. When you run out of wood, the fire goes out. When the gossip ends, the quarrel lies down. A quarrelsome person in a dispute is like kerosene thrown in a fire. Listening to gossip is like eating cheap candy. Do you want junk like that in your belly? Smooth talk from an evil heart is like glaze on cracked pottery. Your enemy shakes hands and greets you like an old friend, all the while conning against you. When he speaks warmly to you, don't believe him for a minute. He's just waiting for the chance to rip you off. No matter how cunningly he conceals his malice, eventually his evil is exposed in the public. Malice backfires, spite boomerangs, liars hate their victims, and flatterers sabotage trust. You can't fix everybody else. People are naughty people. We show them the love of Christ, but we don't carry their baggage. It's not yours. It's not your property. Don't steal. We're not to steal. So don't take their problem. People are cons. People are hurtful. People are mean. And they have baggage. And that's their baggage, not yours. And it's so important that we remember to let their baggage lay. Because we have a burden we're carrying with Jesus on our own. God gives us our own battles to fight, as everybody in here knows. And they're hard enough as they are. So remember, don't carry other people's baggage. Point 3. Watch me go. Matthew chapter 9, verses 9 to 13. It is such a beautiful call. Matthew, a tax collector. We call him like a stockbroker nowadays. Same kind of category. He's a big shot. He made a lot of money. He's a big deal. Influential. He was one of those people you wanted to get to know. He was all that and more. That's who Matthew was. But starting in verse 9, Jesus is walking around, and he went on from there, and he saw a man named Matthew sitting at a tax collector's booth. And he just walked up and he said, "Follow me," he told him. And Matthew got up and followed him. That's such a simple sentence. And you and I both know it has a lifetime worth of consequences. Matthew didn't sit and go, "You know what? I want to get to know you a little bit more. Let's talk about this. Let me do some studies and see if logistically this is going to work out for our friendship." He didn't say, "You know what? This is going to have a major impact. I don't know if you realize this, but what you stand for is the direct opposite of what I'm doing in this tax collector's booth." They're payers there because he ripped off people. That's what he did for a living. He ripped off people. He made a living off of other people. And all of a sudden, he stopped everything and went, "Yeah, I'll follow you." And he goes in sync with him, and he followed him. And so Jesus has dinner at Matthew's house. "Matthew, come on over. You're my friend." And all sorts of tax collectors and sinners come, and everybody else comes. And the Pharisees saw this, and they asked, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Jesus said, "It's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners." People are like, "Why are you wasting your time with him?" See, we're not going to carry other people's burdens, but we're not going to stop showing them the love of Christ and telling them about Christ and watching us go. Every one of us have a purpose, and we're going to live it out. We're going to do it. So remember, number 1, burdens are too heavy, and you're going to be set free from them. You are. He sets you free. It says in John 8:36, Jesus guarantees us, "So if the Son sets you free, you are free indeed." Point number 2, you're giving Jesus the extra baggage, not my burden. And that's when we say, Lord, I just ask you to touch so-and-so. They have a drug addiction. They have a major financial hardship. I ask you to help them. That's why we're praying every week. He wants to be tied to you because his yoke is easy and his burden is light. It's absolutely true. And you can tie to him and you can use his strength. And point number 3, guys, it's time for you to go and see the fruit God has planned specifically in your life. Don't let anything stand in your way. Nothing stands in your way. Your purpose matters. There's supernatural blessings for you carrying out your purpose on this earth. Some promises. Sometimes the thing that you're the most afraid of is exactly what is your breakthrough. What is going to help you. Don't let people hold you back and start saying, well, I don't know. You're not going to be great. No. You just, no thank you. Nobody's going to tell you different. Watch you go. Jesus is helping me with my burden. I'm not carrying this burden. And we're moving. And you just keep walking forward because success is in his purpose. Don't miss a step. Keep walking, keep walking. When people try to dissuade, no, it's like the football players when they're walking, just push them back. But we're going, I'm walking. Nobody's going to hold me back because you're on track. And you get up and you go. Will you please stand with me? We'll always present Christ's open doors of heaven to everybody. If you'd like to make Jesus your Savior, simply say, Jesus, I'm sorry for my sins. Come into my heart and I will serve you with all of my ability. If you prayed this prayer, we believe you have begun the Christian transformation. If you want to know more, would simply like prayer, feel free to come up in the last song. Father God, we come to you. Lord, you are our burden carrier. Remind us of your strength, Lord. Help us to wear the yoke with you, Lord. Help us to allow you to do the pulling and the teaching and the guiding. Protect our thoughts and our movement, Lord. Guide us. Remind us of your miracles. Surround us with your love. Give us divine approval. Bless everybody's day and week. In Jesus' name. Amen. See what song we're singing.